Hi, thanks so much for joining us today for another episode of Vader Down. I hope by this point you have joined our community by subscribing to the channel of Vader Down. Just want to remind you of the vision of Vader Down that's really helping drive the content and launch of all these different interviews with great women across the industry. The vision is to create a place where women earlier in their careers can go and find resources and connect with women later in their careers who really want to help mentor, share their stories with others, and help connect with those women and hopefully send the elevator back down for them. That is what we're founded on and what we're working to accomplish here. So the more subscribers we have, the better for us to really broaden our village and our community and connect with one another. I'm happy to introduce Deena Bernstein today for today's episode of Vader Down. You'll find her journey along the clinical research side of healthcare. And Deena's got a great story where she actually saw a need and presented an opportunity at her employer and founded the whole clinical research department that didn't exist, really just by her bringing forth this opportunity to her leadership. And so she's got a great story and journey to share. Also shares her perspective around how to have a risk-tolerant career and what that looks like, and really not allowing yourself to get complacent in your career, no matter how long you've been in a certain role, and continuing to push yourself outside your comfort zone. So thanks so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Today, I'm excited to spend some time with Deena Bernstein. Deena is the Vice President of Customer Success at DataCubed Health. Deena and I actually met back when I was working at Sheridan Healthcare. She was working there as well. And quickly after I started, I met Deena, and she really became a mentor figure for a lot of the women that were working within the operations department within the specialty I was working with, and really got to know Deena over the upcoming years. And really love Deena's leadership style. She's a humble leader that is all about empowering women. So I'm excited for you to get to meet her today. Welcome, Deena. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. So let's just start with getting to know a little bit more about you and your journey. If you could give us an overview of your climb to your current position.
Okay, well, the climb, there was a lot of mountains involved. So I started in the healthcare industry probably in early 1990s, and always wanted to work in healthcare sales. That didn't quite work out for me because I didn't have a science background. So I started in the dialysis field, where I was given some entrepreneurial opportunities, and also was kind of worked in a liaison type role, and kind of got my feet wet in managed care contracting, and then things evolved. And I moved on to another company, which Deidre and I worked at together, and that was Sheridan Healthcare. And I started out in a physician liaison type role, and was very happy doing that. But then an opportunity came to find out what was going on in the organization as a whole with clinical research. We started to hear that some of our physicians that were employed by the organization were participating in trials, and the corporate office didn't really know what was going on. We wanted to know what was going on from a risk assessment, and always being, the ones to mitigate risk of the organization, to find out what was going on there. So I was given this task to go out and talk to physicians that were participating in trials, and come to find out, yes, the company was at risk. Doctors were signing contracts. Employees were working without really being employees of the organization, but it was quite interesting. So I came back to leadership and presented an opportunity. I took that as an opportunity, and we ended up creating a business unit out of it, and didn't know much about clinical research at all, but found it really, really exciting and innovative. And from there, that's where my career in clinical research started. And I've been working in the clinical research field now for over 20 years. So it was just one of those, by chance, serendipitous opportunities that come your way in life, and ended up working out really well for me. I got that research bug. It's either like you have it or you don't. And from there, I grew. I stayed at Sheridan for over 18 years, working and building up their clinical research department, working with a lot of physicians that were research naive, and implementing a clinical research program, which then turned into also another arm, which is investigator-initiated research. And it was really great for the organization to bring prestige and offer clinical research to patients as other treatment options. And then one day, I got a call from a very large global organization called, at the time, Quintiles, which now is IQVIA. And they recruited me to start their first site network. So I joined, took a leap of faith and jumped in and worked for IQVIA, developing their first site management organization. From there, I did a little bit of consulting in the clinical research field, and then joined a startup company that I was consulting with called Circuit Clinical. Worked there for about a year and a half. And then most recently, I just joined DataCubed Health, which is a technology company, expanding my horizons a little bit in the clinical research field. And I am the customer success vice president, leading a new initiative to support our clients. And the business that offerings are technology services that support clinical trials with a behavioral science kind of differentiator to the market. So really excited about that. Brand new to the role, but challenging myself and growing and learning so many new things, which is really what keeps me going.
Listening on your journey, Deena, one thing that really stood out to me was going back to your time at Sheridan, where you said, I found this opportunity and I brought it forth to leadership, to something that they weren't really doing. What motivated you to do that? I mean, that was really a big step to take. What you did, and the result that you got really was a great outcome. But take us back to kind of your thought process of why you decided to really kind of step out and do that.
Yeah, I think I was still finding my way in my career. I didn't really know what I was most passionate about. And clinical research was really exciting. I found it rewarding immediately because I realized that this was how drugs are developed, and being able to bring drugs to market and being a small part of that process was just really exciting to me. And I think that's when the light bulb went off, and I realized I'm right where I need to be.
That's great. So beyond that point in time, was there any other point in your career where someone really gave you an opportunity where maybe you didn't have a lot of experience in that specific role when you were given the chance to do that role?
Yeah, I think a lot of my career has gone in that direction, where I fall into opportunities. I recognize them, and that's part of it. Being able to recognize something that could lead to an opportunity, and continuous learning is where that's happened for me. So, for example, when I joined the dialysis company, there were diagnostic companies out there that supported dialysis patients, and my boss at the time thought that this would be a good thing for us to offer, and he just kind of gave me this opportunity to start a diagnostic ancillary testing company within our company for dialysis patients. So that was, something that, was just handed to me. I didn't know anything about running a business. I was, like I said, very, very young in my career, and just figuring that out and creating a business line where I think I've always had these opportunities while I'm working for a company, but having these kind of off business units to develop. And it's happened to me, many, many times throughout my career. And those opportunities, you got to see them and understand that they're opportunities, and just dive in and go for it.
When you are presented with an opportunity, were you fearful at all? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Well, I like to say I'm fearless. Well, I like that adrenaline excitement of trying something new. And it's uncomfortable, but I like to put myself in uncomfortable situations and face my fears. And I think that's just a quality that's inherent in me. But yeah, it's scary, but if you got to try things, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to stumble. But I think the reward is far outweighs the the fear side of it. The
Right.
benefits are far more rewarding, and being able to learn new things and develop businesses is really exciting.
So Deena, as you look back on your career, have you experienced men helping men in the workplace, or what I'll call kind of the good old boy network, as well as, have you seen similar behavior for women helping women in the workplace?
I do think there are good old boy networks. I don't feel like they're, or for me, have been as blatant as I've heard, with other organizations or people's experience. I do believe they're there, but they're kind of inconspicuous. They're kind of things going on, just like the bro code and supporting each other is going on behind the scenes. But I've also had some great bosses that were men that supported me, and worked with me to better develop myself. And I've worked with many women, and I love to support women and develop women in their careers. I think it's part of giving back, and what the right thing to do, or the right thing for me to do. But I've also seen women not supporting each other as well in the workplace, and that's very disappointing. It's always like fix another queen's crown without letting anybody know that it was crooked in the first place. Just as an analogy, I like to support women in my career, and people that are around me that I see that have potential to grow.
If you could change one thing about women in the workplace, current state today, what would it be and why?
I think probably being able to have outlets for women to have confidence in themselves. Some, like, maybe help to develop women early on in their careers, or just early on in life, to have confidence to do great things in the workplace.
What do you know now that you wish you knew back when you started your career?
Nothing's forever. I used to believe that, if you were loyal to a company and you stayed with that company, that company would take care of you. And that's really not the case in corporate America anymore. Things change all the time. And, I think my mindset was more of one of old school, where I thought I had to stay at the same place, and I would tell others that you don't have to stay in the same place. In fact, the best way to give yourself a raise is to move on and look for other opportunities.
Right, great point. Really like that advice. Any other advice that you've received? I'm sure you've received a lot of it along the way that really you think is the best advice you received that you would love to kind of pass on to others beyond what you just shared.
Not being afraid of taking risk, you know, and not being afraid to fail. That's how we learn, that's how we grow.
And do you think you've been more risk adverse or risk tolerant throughout your career?
Risk tolerant for sure.
Yeah, I've just listening to your journey for sure. You took a lot of leaps of faith throughout the time. So good for you for that.
Yeah, it definitely was. It wasn't always the easiest decision, but things always work out. They really do. If you believe that they work out, they will work out. They will, they'll work out for you. But you have to take that leap. And I see a lot of women, and they're afraid to leave a comfort zone. I hear people making up excuses about why they shouldn't leave, or I'm not making up, but really believing, reasons why, things shouldn't change, or just being, status quo and comfortable, why that's a good thing. But if you're somebody that really wants to advance and grow, you got to take those leaps of faith when they're presented, and just go for it.
So as you look back on your career, I'm sure you had a lot of moments of being fulfilled in a lot of the different things you did. But if you had to pick one role where you were the most fulfilled, when was it and why?
Most fulfillment is when I leave.
Interesting. Okay, tell me more.
When I look back in the rearview mirror and can, see the things that I've done and I've accomplished, it's a fulfilling feeling that, I've checked a lot of boxes. I've accomplished a lot in my career, and, excited to move on to bigger and better.
Good. No, I like that. So viewers that are watching today, Deena, that say, gosh, I would really love to go the route that you've taken in clinical research. What skills would you tell those viewers to really focus on harnessing?
You have to be very detail oriented to work in the clinical research field. You have to have a thirst for innovation, and truly you can learn a lot of the skill sets and tasks involved. But I didn't have a science background, and it's good to have a science background. So, having a bachelor's in sciences definitely will put you ahead of the curve there. I ended up going back to school and getting a master's in clinical research administration. So I clearly can understand and I'm an expert in the field of the clinical research operations and the drug development side of it. But to have that science background, would have really been nice as well. I've been working with physicians for over 20 years. So, you can understand the clinical aspect, but, having that background in science is definitely helpful, and was something I did not have. Being, business minded, having skill sets in business and science is also very helpful for the clinical research field. The part of the industry that I work in, it is very network oriented, who and being able to have that skill set of networking and constant continuous learning about new developments or innovations in the marketplace, how we can do things better is if that piques your interest, you would probably be good to work in the clinical research field.
Yeah, knowing you, Deena, you're really good at networking. I think you've got a pretty large network out there. How did you become a good networker? Any advice to those listening about how to really, there's a lot of ways to go about networking. So what do you think helped make you successful at it?
Well, I think part of it is, I'm definitely not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I'm a connector. Some people use that word, connector. I like to connect people with people that I know. I get a lot of fulfillment out of that. And then using those channels of social media, such as LinkedIn, I tell everybody, never underestimate the power of LinkedIn. That really is key. And finding like-minded people, birds of a feather, that you can connect with and develop your skills. That's also, very helpful in building your center of influence and your network. But really finding out those people that work in similar positions and similar aspects of your industry are developing that network, and connecting with those types of people helps you to expand your network. One of the things that I did going back quite a few years ago is I started presenting at conferences, and that was one of those times when I really had to face my fears. Didn't really like presenting to people other than those that I knew in a boardroom, and realized that I, probably should start developing that skill. And now I can, it's still a little scary, but when you're up in front of a large audience, but yeah, I faced my fears. I jumped in and started presenting about things that I knew about, which at the time was site development, clinical research site development, how to operate a site, how to financially manage a site, and those types of things. And then before you know it, I became an industry presenter.
I love that. You pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and a skill that you knew you needed to harness. And that's public speaking and presenting, which a lot of us have a lot of fears of. I can even admit for myself, still have fears today of public speaking. So that's very admirable and great advice, Deena. How do you deal with stress?
Yeah, stress, that old thing that creeps up on you every now and then. The way I deal with it is, when I feel that my stress level is getting, too much of a burden, I find comfort and, in taking a break, getting up, walking away from the situation, going outside, taking a nice long walk. I'm lucky enough to live in a place that's very nice to walk around, go to the beach and walk. And I find I do my best thinking and letting go of things that are kind of, that aren't light. And that's really what I like to do. I try very hard to manage stress and how I respond to stress, and not being reactive, giving it a break, especially if it's in a form of an email or a conversation. Think it through instead of just addressing it when it's too much.
Next question is a little bit more personal, around investing and finances. So who is the chief investment officer, I'll say, in your household? And do you have any advice to younger women, just around investing in general?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky enough to have a partner in life who works in that industry. Brad runs 401k plans for large organizations, and he's an expert. So I defer to him. So probably not the best advice, but I know that it's really important to save. And if you're working for an organization that offers a 401k, it's kind of a no-brainer not to take advantage of that, whether they're contributing as a giving a contribution from a company directly to their employees. And even when they're not, it's just a good way to have a forced savings plan. Managing your risk. If you're young, you can take a little bit more financial risk, and as you get a little older, your situations change, and going into less risky investments. But I like the 401k model, and it's been good to me so far.
Vader Down was founded on really the idea of sending the elevator back down, which is just another way of saying paying it forward and, empowering or elevating those in the workplace. And so, Deena, what does sending the elevator back down mean to you?
To me, it means that it's a way to empower other women who are trying to become and are successful in their careers, giving them the support that they need, either through mentoring, coaching, or just networking and friendship, having honest conversations with other women about maybe their trials and tribulations throughout their career, and just sending the elevator down so others can rise above.
When it comes to leadership, what is one thing you know is true that society may tell you otherwise?
Kind of stress that nothing's forever, and being able to take risks in your career is a good way of kind of moving forward. So companies that back in the day, you thought that if you were loyal to a company, that a company would be loyal to you. And I don't find that always to be true. And not that it's intentional, but companies operate in different ways now. They have different types of stressors, and strategies change often. But yeah, that's that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that to think that if you're working for an organization, thinking that you're going to be there forever and that nothing's going to change and that you're going to be supported all the time is not really a reality.
We have to be our own best advocates, right? And always thinking about what is best for us, which at times may not be where we're currently at.
Yeah.
In conclusion for today, Deena, what's really that key takeaway that you want viewers to walk away with after viewing today's episode?
Well, just in the theme of Vader Down, I think that women supporting women is of utmost important in the business world. And if you have a mentor, if you have a coach, that's wonderful. But if you don't, and you need a little lift and you need to take the elevator up, don't be afraid to ask. There's so many people out there that really want to give back, and that's the message. Ask for the help if you need it.
Great. Thank you, Deena. Really appreciate your time today. Some great takeaways as well.
I'm Deena Bernstein with Vader Down, and I'm sending the elevator back down.